And thank you for staying up late with us here on The Factor Uncensored. We appreciate your time and your effort tonight. We have some important news to discuss. First up, is there an effort to keep black female judicial candidates in Harris County off of the bench? This comes after lawsuits have been filed to have those 13 candidates removed from the ballot.
Not just African-American women, just Caucasian women, Hispanic women, Vietnamese women, just people in general that are trying to change a system that is so used to it being a certain way, right? And when you come into dark places with light, people don't like that.
We're talking about women, black women who have been practicing for more than a decade, and the question continues to be raised about whether or not we're qualified. And I don't see similar types of questions for non-black females.
Now, earlier today, the head of the Houston's NAACP held a press conference taking a stance against a challenge. Texas State Representatives Ron Reynolds and Yolanda Jones were there, and now they join us here on The Factor Uncensored to talk about it. For those who haven't been following this, Yolanda, take it to the simplest possible element that we can understand why these black female judges or candidates are complaining.
So they're complaining because they're not the only people who are running against incumbents, but the only people that have been sued in this election cycle are black women. And they are making up violations that don't exist.
Give us an example of something this lawsuit says they violated or they didn't do that they should not be able to run or they should be taken off the ballot.
So, for example, Takasha Francis is running for a district court judge. She's been practicing law for 19 years. The last 8 years, she was the director of the Department of Neighborhoods for the city of Houston, where she practiced law, making sure the Department of Neighborhoods followed the law in what they do. Well, they filed, Judge Robert Schaefer filed a lawsuit saying that she is not qualified because she was over the Department of Neighborhoods for the city of Houston for 8 years, and saying that a 19-year lawyer is not qualified. Well, we voted on the law that determines whether you're qualified, and there's nothing in the law that says you have to practice for more than 19 years. There's nothing in the law that says you have to have X number of trials, which they were arguing. So they're just making up things to remove them from the ballot. In another instance, they were saying that a judicial candidate didn't put down that she was not board certified. Well, the law doesn't say you have to put down board certifications. So they're making up things, and it's problematic, one, because then you've got to go hire a lawyer, which costs tens of thousands of dollars that they don't have. And if they don't go hire a lawyer, then it's possible for them to be removed from the ballot. And all they're asking for is to let them run and compete and sell themselves to the voters and let the voters decide. But all of these lawsuits, if they are removed, then the other people just win by default. And it's very hurtful, and that's why the lawsuits that did make it to the Supreme Court got kicked out. But one lawsuit, there's actually a trial on March 27th to remove her from the ballot. So even if she wins on March 5th, the lawsuit could take her off, and then the person who lost to the voters would end up being the judge. And so it's just not fair.
And State Representative Ron Reynolds, the lowest common denominator, what is this about? Well, from your gut, your core, what is this about?
I think my colleague Yolanda Jones hit the nail on the head. It seems that they are being targeted, these African-American female judges and judicial candidates. It seems like they're being targeted and singled out as opposed to any of the other candidates. And so the Texas Legislative Black Caucus was proud to join the Houston NAACP to take a stand to say, let the people decide. Let the voters of Harris County decide who should represent them in the Democratic primary, because these are Democratic primary challenges to decide who's going to be the Democratic nominee for November, who ultimately will go on to possibly win the seat. So we believe that there seems to be a systematic disparity with African-American females being targeted, and we won't stand for that. We are here to stand in the gap to say, hey, you know, let the voters decide. Let's not try to take away people's ability to serve on the bench because of a technicality. Let's not target these people because of some nuance and you're in court trying to defend yourself when you are a legitimate licensed attorney and a qualified candidate to be on the ballot. They've earned that right, and now it's up to the voters to decide who's the best candidate.
And who's challenging them? Are we talking about Republicans? Are we talking about Democrats? Are we talking about both?
No, we're talking about Democrats. We have
the hell y'all got going on here?
We have Democratic judges. For example, one of the judges has filed a lawsuit to take someone off the ballot and accused her of crimes that she didn't commit, and then proceeded to create a legal scenario where after they accused her of something, they literally argued, the chair of the Harris County Democratic Party, Mike Doyle, argued that she didn't need to be a necessary party.
And of course, Mike Doyle told us in a previous report, this happens all the time, challenges.
So that is not entirely accurate. We're not talking about this happens all the time for history, because other people have been challenged, but in this election cycle, it's only the black women judges, judicial candidates, who are being challenged. And one of the judges who has sued somebody, I think when he ran for the bench, he had only been practicing for 13 years, and now the person that's challenging him has been practicing for long enough, but they're saying you're not qualified.
Let me just say this real quick, Isaiah. Some people are,
really quick,
are threatened by black girl magic. They're threatened because black women are finally being able to have seats at the table when they've been excluded in the past. So we need to stand in the gap as men and as people of good conscience to support these black women.
All right.
We should.
Thank you guys for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.